listening to Who's Tom and Dick, a weekly podcast with your hosts, Martin Weavers, fighting stage 4 lung cancer, and Patrick Mortimer, living with heart disease. Why not grab yourself a cup of coffee, sit back, and enjoy the chatter as we discuss and share information, talking about tough subjects, and offering help, support, and motivation with a positive mental attitude.
Hello, Martin.
Hello, how are you?
Bright and cheerful as we head into Christmas.
I know, this is our Christmas edition.
We're going to do a special during Christmas and New Year where we look back on the year. Is that all right with you?
That's okay with me to do a review because I've got some lovely bits to talk about when we get onto it, which will be next week now, won't it?
Jolly good. Well done, mate.
We've got a special guest today.
We have.
I mean, if we said he's called Derek Evans, people won't know who he is, will they? So you do the intro.
Well, back in the 70s.
90s.
Was it that? No, didn't he go back further?
No, 93 he started.
Back in the 90s.
Shall I do the intro? Keep going.
Back in the 90s, when I switched my TV on in the morning, there was a regular person, Derek Evans, who used to motivate everybody. And today we're lucky to have motivating us. Positive mental attitude.
Yes.
So I'd like to introduce to you today, guys, please welcome Mr. Derek Evans, aka Mr. Motivator.
So good morning, Derek. And we might call you Derek sometimes and we might call you Mr. Motivator, but welcome to our podcast and thanks for agreeing to come on. So I always ask the guests to go right back to where it began in 1993 for you, I do believe, on TV.
Yeah, but that's not where it began because, our lives start out well before that, doesn't it?
Yes.
The foundation stone in our lives from when we're born and a whole sequence of events lead you to where you are. And I think most people, when you speak to them and you say, well, did you choose that occupation? Most people would go, no, it's just the circumstances that's led me to where I am. And I think I've always believed that, listen, you work hard. If you remain considerate and you're kind, then amazing things will happen in your life. And I've been very blessed in that, so many things have happened to me. And 1993 was the start of a television career, but it all started in terms of my fitness career well before that, and
right.
And I think I've always had this desire to try and, get people to start focusing on their health as early as you can. And it's never too late. And so getting a platform which allowed me to speak about not just the physical side of fitness, but also the mental, the whole well-being area has always been my kind of vocation. And in fact, it's even more relevant now than it ever was when I started in 93. 93, the image of Mr. Motivator, which is music and bright colors and all that kind of thing, it was my kind of passport to get the door open so I could get in and then talk to people about everything that really mattered. And I think we all need to find that in our lives,
Yeah.
Find the key that will open the door. And when you get in, then you can be who you want to be.
Because you by the time you pitched it, it took about a little while for it to get actually on TV, didn't it?
Yeah, for 10 years, during the TVM days in the 80s, I was always knocking at the doors. I was down in Camden Lock. That's where they used to be. And I used to go down every month. And I'd be in there with one of the producers and I'd say, this is what we could do. And they kept saying to me, no, we've got an agreement with Mad Lizzie and that's in place. And a man doing fitness would never work. And in particular, a black man, he had to be a blonde person with 2 kids or something like that. And I kept saying, I don't think it matters. Just give me a chance. And it wasn't right. But, that's why the price of success in all things is perseverance. And you must never, ever give up because what do they say? The successful man is the man who continues after the failure has said it can't be done. And so you must never quit because just the moment you quit and go, oh, I can't be bothered any longer, that's probably the moment when things are going to work. That's the moment when the doors are going to open up. So no matter anybody listening now, I say to you that if things aren't working out now, just keep on going because people move on. And the climate changes. And when the climate changes, new people come in place. And those new people may be receptive to your idea, that wonderful thing you want to do. And that's exactly what happened to me.
Yeah, good tip there. So what was you doing before you actually became fitness guru?
You know what? I was doing everything because I was a single parent at age 20. And when you're looking after a daughter on your own, and I remember in those days, I was very fortunate because I remember there was these organizations set up where men wanted to see their kids and they couldn't. And
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what they were called now.
They were all dressed as superheroes, weren't they?
Yeah, that's right. They did all these events, right, to try and draw attention to fathers who didn't want to be absent fathers. They wanted to be there and to play a part in children's lives. And I fought for custody, and luckily I was able to win custody of my daughter. And in doing so, from she was age 3, I looked after her, and it was tormenting and tough and hard. And there were nights when you cried, and there were days when you couldn't feed her properly, and you couldn't feed yourself, and stuff like that. But so I did whatever I had to do to put bread on the table. If it meant stacking shelves in Tesco's in Burnt Oak, that's what I did. If it was cleaning out toilets in CNA, these places are no longer around, CNA and stuff like that. You did whatever I had to do. And one time I had even a building business, and I, as I said, I did everything. I had an accessory business before the accessory shops, which we all know about now. I used to have an accessory business where I had within store, shop within shop. And that was in Oxford Street and stuff like that. And I would sell costume jewelry, bags and belts and socks and scarves. And in all these stores like Jane Norman, there was a store called Snob. There was all these stores in Oxford Street I used to be in. And I'd make money from doing that. So I did whatever I had to do to survive. But I just kept on working away. And then fitness really wasn't part of my regime then. I was into karate and badminton. And that's all I ever could find time for. And that was only occasionally. And one evening, I remember I was in a leisure centre in Harrow, and I could hear all this noise coming from down this corridor. And I wandered down the corridor. And when I looked through this little glass window, I could see all these ladies moving to music. And I was kind of transfixed. And that was like a light bulb moment. And every Tuesday, I was back there at the back of the class, right, watching all these ladies. Every time a different track of music came on, they move in a particular direction. And I thought, my gosh, that's me. I could do this. And I couldn't think how to make it real. So I looked around. In fact, I looked at 2 ladies at the front, and I said, listen, would you like to run some classes for me? And they said, sure. Where are you going to hold these classes? I said, well, I haven't got the place yet. I was just checking if I would. So I was wandering around, and as luck would have it, I was driving down Neasden Lane in Neasden, and there's a new hall being built opposite the church at the bottom of Neasden Lane. So I stopped, went there, and there was demolition work going on and that kind of stuff. And I happened to see the vicar, and I said, look, I'd love to rent this hall when it's finished. He said, well, it's going to become available. You can rent it if you like. And so I rented it Tuesday evenings with these 2 ladies teaching what was called pop mobility.
Right.
And they started doing the classes for me, and I promoted it, and it got popular. And then after about 3 months, I said to them, you know what? I don't need you any longer. I can do it. And I started doing those classes, and the popularity grew and grew. Eventually, I had to have 2 or 3 nights in that location. Then I took on other church halls, school halls, and we would get people traveling 20 miles to come to my classes.
Wow.
And we'd have 120 people on a Tuesday evening, everybody from rugby players to triathletes coming to do Mr. Motivator's class. Well, I wasn't called Motivator then, coming to do Derek's classes.
Brilliant. We promote on here positive mental attitude, and it's obvious you've got that. Is there any time when you haven't got a positive mental attitude?
I think if we practice in our lives being positive, it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have a choice whether you're going to be sad or whether you're going to be happy, whether you're going to cry or whether you're going to laugh. You have a choice.
Yeah.
Now, if your choice is that, listen, I'm going to have a horrible day, well, that isn't exactly a positive mental attitude. But if you said to yourself, today is going to be a great day no matter what, automatically you'll set yourself up for heading towards gravitating to what is a positive statement. And there were times in my life when things were tough that it was difficult to find that positivity because you kept thinking of all the negative stuff. What if? Shall I go to crime? Shall I, listen to some friends I have, right, who have taken the shortcuts? And all the while, you look at that and you analyze it. And I think if you are receptive to the fact that success will come, and if you've left yourself wide open for success, it will happen. And that means you should remain positive at all times, no matter what's hitting you, whether it's your health is not good. If you remain positive, I believe in the power of the mind.
Yeah.
And that, honestly, that can conquer some. Come on, you watch the Paralympics and you see these people achieving, right? Doing things that you think, in fact, they're more able-bodied than us, right? The things they're able to achieve. Where does that come from? PMA. That's what it is. Right? I think that's where we should all put ourselves. And if ever you're feeling down, if ever you're feeling like you can't go on, if ever you feel that you're close to the edge, then you stand up and you look in that mirror and you tell yourself, today's going to be a great day. You tell yourself, I'm fabulous. You tell yourself you're the best looking dude there is, right? Tell yourself that no matter what, today you're going to have such a good time. And promise you that if you start doing that, you'll twist the scales around. So instead of it dragging you down, it's actually lifting you up.
Yeah. Another good tip. Patrick, you might find that difficult saying that you're good looking in the mirror, but you know.
I was going to get in first with that one. Have you had, obviously you're very fit and healthy, I assume. Have you ever had any health problems?
Oh yeah. And as you get older, you are more susceptible to loads and loads of health problems. I mean, you know, in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, you're invincible. You think nothing can go wrong, right? Nowadays, you're getting 30-year-olds dying, right? 40-year-olds dying. When you get to age 72, which is where I'm at the moment, you're very susceptible to a lot more conditions, right? That can actually knock you off that steady pathway of being fit and healthy. So what you have to do is you have to keep on exercising, because movement is medicine. And no matter what condition you have, if you exercise, even if it's just going for a walk or walking at a pace or going swimming or whatever, you will slow down the rate at which those conditions come to the fore.
Yeah.
Now, there's some things that just happen and you think to yourself, where did that come from? And that is life. I've got a good friend who was given 10 months to live, had brain tumor. All of a sudden, brain tumor, right? He died within 4 months. Got another friend, right, he's been my best mate for 60 years. He died last year, right? And why did he die? Kidney problem. Ran in his family, kidney problem. Then eventually got sepsis and he died, right? So we all get doled out, right? Different lengths of time. But every one of us need to be like a rocket that's going up into the sky. And we have our friends around us and they're the boosters and they boost us. But at some stage or other, those boosters disappear. And hopefully they've propelled you enough so that way you can keep on going. And my health got hit when I was really under a lot of stress. I was under stress because I just lost my granddaughter, who was 12 years of age.
Oh, dear.
I was trying to be strong for everybody. They lived in Antigua. I traveled down to Antigua to see them. Everybody was crying their eyes out, but no, not me. I was tough. I'm strong. I'm going to stand up, right? I'm not going to cry. And every time the tears will come here, you'll stifle them back.
Yeah.
That made me ill. And the only point at which I felt relief was after we had buried her and we were sitting in the lounge, my wife and my youngest daughter, who's now 28. And I said to them, you know what? I think I know why I collapsed. Why? And doctors said to me, the only reason why you survived is because you were fit. Because I was collapsed. I said, I know why. And that's because I didn't listen to what I've told people all along, that real men cry. Real men cry. Men are so terrible at crying. They think it weakens them. It doesn't. It makes you stronger. And I said to them, I think I'm ready to cry now. And I sat there and bawled my eyes out. And the moment I bawled my eyes out, guess what I felt? Like a cloud had lifted off me.
Yeah.
And I felt better. And that explains why women cry all the time. They cry if they're happy, if they're sad. Men, what do we do when we're sad? We cry sometimes if we're happy. But when we're sad, we think it's a sign of weakness. But no. If you don't feel right, you feel tears coming, let it go.
My ex-father-in-law, he lost his wife, and we never knew that he cried once. In the end, he had a stroke, and it was just, I think if he'd have let his emotions out then, I think he probably would have been okay. Going back to the fitness, when I got my cancer, I was a football referee, semi-professional, so very good standard. So I was very fit at the time. And they said, because I was fit, all the treatment I was having was actually helping me. And now I've hardly got any cancer in my body.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I cannot stress the importance of movement anymore. You don't have to go running. You don't have to jog. You can sit in your chair and do it. And even if all you did was tap your feet to the music, that's movement. People don't understand that movement starts every day with all of us. We move, whether we like it or not, because the moment you roll over in bed, you've moved. When you walk to the bathroom and you squat down on the potty, you're using your leg muscles. Mm-hmm. When you stand up after doing your business, you have moved. When you brush your teeth, you've moved. When you put on your jumper, your cardigan, you've moved. All I'm asking you to do is do a little bit more.
Because you've done some videos. I mean, well, if you get on YouTube, and I'm telling all our listeners this, there's videos for every day of the week, and there's a video for this. But one of them was people sitting it was a GMTV studio, and they had cushions between their legs, squeezing their legs, and then moving bottles of water instead of dumbbells, because you don't have to have all the fitness equipment, do you?
No, you don't. And that's what I'm trying to do. Listen, I mean, a real pet element of what I do now, something that I really hold close to my heart, so working with the older people. Because once you get to 70, there's something about the NHS that says, oh, we're not going to look after you anymore. We'll give you 2 minutes of our time, and that's it. But the thing is, we don't know how long we've got between 70 and 100. It could be all of it. It could be 10 years of it. And so therefore, the quality of our lives and our independence, we have got to work hard to maintain it as we get older. And that maintenance only comes from movement. Your independence is governed by how strong your legs are.
Yeah.
If your legs are strong, you can walk upstairs, you can climb up hills, you don't have to shuffle anymore, you can do your heel toe when you walk. And so I work a lot with older people, teaching them about balance, using weights and showing them that, in fact, you can strengthen yourself. But the most important thing is that it gives you this feeling of, I've done well, I'm doing well, right? And that's what exercise does to you.
Well, your message that definitely goes across to the whole of the UK, and you look very, very well for your age.
Keep on saying it, brother. Heading on. My wife is 67, and in the last 2 years, she's lost 66 pounds in weight. That's the power of the mind. You want to make a difference, you want to make a change, you can do it right now. And every single person should make sure they're around to play with their grandchildren.
I went to a local sporting memories club, and we had a ex-Olympian do a talk. He was in his 80s. And he said one of the most important things to practice every day is balance.
Yeah. Because
most old people, when they have their first fall, they struggle to recover.
You're right, Patrick. 40% of over 65s who fall die within that first year.
Really?
Wow.
Frightening. The falls cost the NHS £10 billion a year. And most of the falls can be avoided.
Yeah.
All to do with movement. And movement, if you work the muscles, then your balance will remain. How many people can stand on one leg? Very few, right? Because once the muscles get loosened and they're not tight any longer, you lose the biomechanics of the way your body works and you fall. And I see it. I was on ship. I was doing a talk, I remember, and I was talking about falling, what to do if you see someone fall, and what you do as a person who falls. And I was giving them all the pointers that they need. And straight away, someone shouted out, there was 250 people in this room. There's a big shout out, someone's fallen. Someone was coming down the stairs outside, fell. That's how it is. You can fall at any time. And, there's certain basic things that we all need to do to ourselves to avoid falling, and also to prepare ourselves for falling. Because young people fall. The difference between young people and us is they bounce. They don't have fear. We have fear, we tighten up, so we break.
Yeah.
Now, talking of elderly people and things like that, I noticed that you, in 2021, you worked for Colchester Borough Council for getting people you've probably forgotten, in people in care homes to get them to exercise.
I do a lot of that kind of stuff. I work a lot with care homes and stuff like that. To be honest, anywhere. I mean, that's why this online platform I've set up called the Mr Motivators Club. The idea behind it is I'm giving free exercise to everybody. People in care homes, people in hospital. We've got major London hospital recently who's come on board and they're now endorsing the content of the club. The club has 10 minutes, 6 minutes, 20 minutes exercises that you can choose. You've got no excuse now. You don't have to download an app. You don't have to pay a monthly membership. All you have to do is go, you know what, I'd like to do something, and there'll be something on there for you. We also do bedtime stories. I do all kinds of stuff. It's there. So there you go.
Yeah, one interesting point I had when I was in my rehabilitation, they said build exercise into your day. So for argument's sake, if you go to Tesco shopping, don't park right outside the door. Park in the car space the furthest away and walk to the door, do your shopping and walk back. So you can build it into your day. You don't have to.
Well, you know, the problem with that, Patrick, is that no one ever does. And if everybody parked way away, the car park would be full way away. So therefore, we're parking outside the door anyhow, right? So when they say build it into your day, if you live in a house with stairs, set yourself up so you go up and down those stairs quite a few times a day. Every time you stand in the kitchen to do the cooking, stand on one leg for a while, right? Stand legs apart, and if you're having to squat down to reach for something, when you go squat down to reach for it, do it a few more times. If you're sitting down watching television, every hour, set the alarm clock to remind you to get up, sit down, get up, sit down. And if you build it into your day like that, you don't need to go to an organized exercise class. It then forms part of your normal day.
Yeah.
I was told in hospital that because I had a lady come round to teach me some exercise, and you mentioned it earlier, cleaning your teeth. Bend as you're at the sink, bend your knees, stretch. And there's so many things you can do just cleaning your teeth. And
yeah. The other bit, you see, as long as the focus isn't on losing weight, if the focus is on losing weight, then you have to be more intense with your exercise. But if all you want to do is maintain where you are, because what you see, you love what you see, and you feel, listen, I just want to make sure I don't get any worse, then those basic little pointers make a lot of sense. But if you really want to, lose weight, if you really want to condition those muscles, as you get older, the one thing everybody should do is weight training, right? Again, you get the club. Everybody should go out and buy themselves a couple of different size dumbbells, because weight training is good for your balance, your stability, because the muscles need to be worked for them to be stronger, for them to get definition. And you only get that by using things like weights, or using your body weight is fine, but weights is the best thing.
Yeah. And one of the exercise things you did, you had about 30,000 people online called Body and Soul. What was that? Was that a kind of record? Was it for?
Well, you know what? I've done so many. I do a lot of music festivals every year, so I'm already booked into probably about 8 music festivals. You go on the main stage. One of the biggest one is Why Not or Truck. You go on the main stage. I open the main stage, and you'll get 20,000 people moving their body. I did an event called Car Fest, a Chris Evans event up north, and there was 33,000 people moving. I've done kinds of different sizes of people. I did Great North Run, where I was on a platform, and I'd have motivators every 100 yards on a different platform, because when you got 50,000 people moving, they can't see you from where you are. So you had to have these motivators. And it was a wonderful crescendo, because if I did a move, the person on the platform further on would have to do that move. And so it went on. Eventually ended up in like a Mexican wave of movement.
Yeah.
But with me, I just believe that exercise should be safe. It should be effective.
We've talked quite a bit about movement and exercise. What's your take on diet, supplements, vitamins, all that sort of thing?
The diet industry makes millions every year out of people because they play on them. I've never believed in diets. I've always believed in sensible eating. Just like drink, when you've had one too many. You almost know at which point you need to say, I'm not going to have any more.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing with food. If we only eat when we're hungry up to the point where we just feel full, that's fine. The problem is we all go over that. And that was so tasty. Let me have another one. So if that's your regime, then you need to make sure that you exercise to balance it. So energy coming in needs to be, right, less than energy going out. So you definitely need to move your body. And I believe that that's what we should be doing. Rather than penalizing people and say you must diet and stuff like that, I don't believe in that. Sensible eating. So therefore, if it works for you, fine. And if taking supplements work for you, fine. The funny thing about supplements is that people don't know if it really works.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you stop taking it one day, do you feel different that one day? You don't, right? And so you go, well, are we taking it out of habit? Or is it really working? If you've got a well-balanced diet and you eat sensibly, you actually don't need the supplements. I'm a pescatarian. I eat a load of veg. I mean, the past 3 nights, I've just baked all my veg, put it with olive oil and some garlic and all my different veg cut up and stick it in the oven, right? 20 minutes later, it's all cooked and beautiful and it's ready. And then I have my salmon, which I either grill or I fry it, right? And I do it in garlic sauce and stuff like that. I mean, my mouth is watering now talking about it.
You're making me hungry.
If we all eat sensibly, you never have this issue to deal with. The diet industry is raking in millions every year because they're playing on our insecurities. That's number one. Number two, if what you did was to avoid convenience food and cook your own food, you'd be better off. Because convenience food has nothing in it except a load of stuff that you don't have in your kitchen. And that load of stuff in it is the preservative, it's the extra salt, the extra sugar, which you wouldn't do in your own kitchen. But yes, still, what do? You go out and buy the convenience food and stick it in the oven, and you sit in front of the TV and you eat that. Well, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. I'd like to take you back a couple more years now, 2020, and you were awarded the MBE. Your services to fitness.
Took them long enough, didn't it?
Yeah. And Prince William gave you the MBE. What was the story about him saying about he didn't want to wear a leotard?
Actually, it was just so funny because there's such protocol when you get there. They tell you that you got to go turn right and 5-step, turn left, not a 5-step. And there's the red carpet. Don't go on the red carpet. He'll come to you and all that nonsense. Or you bow and all that. And I dismissed all that. He came out, put his hand on my shoulder, shook my hand, and he said, I've always admired you as a child. I always wanted to follow you and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, it's funny you should mention that because I reckon we could do something together. He said, there's no way on earth I'm wearing a leotard, right? I said, well, it's not called a leotard. It's called a unitard. And I reckon you look exceptionally one. He said, no. So we stood there laughing until his aide said, look, it's time to move on to the next person.
There is the news item. That's where I saw it on YouTube. And so if any of our listeners want to get on there, you can't hear any talking, but you can see what you're talking about. It's very good.
Oh yeah, we had a laugh. I mean, look, at the end of the day, come on, they're no different to us. People tend to, if you're a celebrity, people treat you differently and think you're different, but you're not. You go to the bathroom the same as everybody else. You go down to Tesco's and buy the same as. Come on, I mean. So what's this nonsense? And what really bugs me, Martin, is these celebrities who don't have time for people, the very people who pay their salary, the very people, right, who if they weren't there, right, there'd be nothing. Yeah. So why do people forget where they come from? I always make time for people. I get stopped all the while. I remember for my 26th wedding anniversary, we went to this restaurant in Manchester, and I've not eaten my dinner yet. Because every minute someone kept coming around or kneeling down or hugging me. You're joking. I make the effort because I'm blessed as long as they still keep, accepting me for who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm always going to make time for people.
It's very, very good because my hobby, I actually collect autographs.
How do you?
Yeah. And nowadays it's more selfies. And I'm not going to name the person, but we both went to a show the other night and people were coming out and like you said, they were having selfies, but this one person would not wind down their window. And I thought, it's horrible because like you said, people like us, we're not famous, but we put them where they are.
Absolutely right. I remember doing a music festival, one in particular. I mean, I have this problem every time. It's called Camper Calling. And we're finished, we're in my car going out and people saw me. They blocked the car. And for an hour and a half, I was there doing pictures, right? Until the end, I said, look, I'm tired. I've got to go, right? You got to make time for people. Come on. I mean, I've never done it. I've never gone out to get autographs from anybody, although I have a book here which has everybody that came into GMTV in the 90s signed it.
Ah, brilliant.
I've got everybody in there. And it's incredible, the book, because it's got autographs from Meatloaf or, Cliff Richard or
Wow.
U2 or whatever, who all came to GMTV. Because everybody who came in wanted to actually either work out with me. Stephen Grappelli, names that have gone by, right?
Wow.
They're all in this booklet. One day I'll auction it for charity or something like that.
I'll make a bid.
Yeah, no, good times.
Where do you get all these fancy and bright unitards? Because you corrected me, I had leotards written down here, so I've no corrected it. Where do you get all these colourful items from?
If I backtrack a little bit, I remember the the first job I had in London was working for a company called Rank Hovis McDougall.
Oh, wow.
And so I dealing with products that they had, and I was a merchandiser. And I'll always remember they sent me away on all these different courses. And one of them was called Essentials of Management. And in doing it, they sent you away and you learned everything about production, distribution, selling, marketing. And the one thing that stood out for me was the marketing, how you market yourself. And if you want your product to get noticed, you have to market. And I remember I read Henry Ford said that the man who doesn't advertise his business is like the man who, turns off his light because he wants to save money.
Yeah.
In other words, you'll only be successful if you advertise. So when I got on television, I thought every other fitness person before me have come and gone because they were wearing shorts and black top. But we all remember the Green Goddess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just mention the word Green Goddess. Everybody knows who she is, Dana Moran. And I thought there's something in the marketing of, even though she didn't think about it that way, I'm sure. There's something about the fact you remember the colors, right? You remember her being blonde. You remember everything about Dana Moran. And so I thought, well, okay, let me create an image that people go, you know what? I like what he's wearing, or let me talk about him and let me find out why he's wearing those colors. So I came up with the unitard. And I got one in America. I was over there. I got one in America. And then a company down in Brighton got in touch and said, look, we'd love to make up your range for you. And so we started doing it. And then the ankle warmers came along, the bum bag came along, because every time I had the mic in my back, as I'm laying on the ground, it was actually quite painful, right?
Yeah.
So you'd move around to the side, it didn't look right. So I came up with this bum bag, right? The idea was to put the mic in there and then it would be on my front and I could do anything and it would never be in the way. So that's how it came about. And everything, the bandanas all grew and it became part of the image. And now, I don't think there's a job I get asked to do where, in fact, they don't ask me to come along in my unitard. So,
is it right that you've got about 60 of these bum bags?
More than that. You're talking about I got hundreds.
Oh, wow.
Don't forget, I never wore the same thing twice on breakfast television. So each year, what used to happen, I used to go to Miami, and there's a wonderful fabric store in downtown Miami where they got 50,000 different styles of lycra. And I'd go in there and I was like a kid in a candy store. And I'd actually just choose the fabric I want. Then I go to Jamaica and I get someone down there to make up all my unitards. And I come back up here with, 40 or 50 unitards to last for the year.
Wow. I don't know if you've been asked, but would you ever do the Jungle or Celebrity Big Brother?
I've been asked for lots of things. You know what? There's some physical things, challenges I won't do. Right, purely because the moment I get injured, in fact, I got injured doing a BBC program 10 years ago, dislocating my right knee and my patella tendon. And after that, I decided I would never do anything which is too physical. I don't mind if it's fun. But then I think to myself, why would I go in the jungle? What am I doing it for? I've never done things for money. I've always done it because I love it. Because I had a very successful accessory business. It was making money, but I wasn't happy. So I moved on to something else until I found what made me happy. So doing the jungle is all about money. If I'm Big Brother, I wouldn't do that kind of thing because I don't think it enhances my brand. I think anything I do has got to add quality to my brand. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. So I think that's probably the best way of answering. I'm not saying no. but I'm saying I'd really have to think carefully about it, right? And see whether, in fact, it gives me good so that people get, understands me.
Do you have the occasional donut?
Listen, here's my treat, Patrick. Once a month.
Once a
right?
month.
Once a month, I have a packet of M&Ms,
right?
A big pack of plain crisp. That's it. You got to eat them together, right?
Right.
And that's once. And the thing is, I can't wait for the start of the month. And then when the month comes along, I delay. So, like, for example, I haven't had it for December yet. I may wait until Christmas Day or something like that to have it. But yeah, so there is M&Ms in the fridge now, and the packet of crisps is in the larder waiting for me.
Brilliant.
But Patrick mentioned donuts there because he's got a thing that he thinks I eat donuts all the time.
But you know what? Those small donuts, I had some years ago. This is small ones. I used to love them. In America, they're the masters of donuts. I remember going to a store and getting a little bag, and they gave me all these different varieties of small donuts, and it was lovely.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned you've been on a cruise and talking to all these people and all that. So what else have you got? What does the future hold for Mr. Motivator?
Well, loads of stuff. I mean, number one, the club, we're developing it all the while because we want it to be the go-to place. So no matter what your age, if you want some exercise, you go to it and find it. So it's not just me doing the exercise. I've got motivators who are on there. It's not just about exercise. We have bedtime stories. I've done some poetry reading, and so it goes on. There's all that kind of stuff on there. That's number one. Number two, about 18 months ago, I did a show for the BBC where we looked at bed poverty. When you mention bed poverty, most people don't know what it is. But bed poverty is, in relation to children, 1 million kids tonight will go to sleep without a bed. So I have a charity we've set up now called Mr Motivator's Bed Bank. And of all the luck in the world, a big major advertising agency, Leo Burnett, has adopted my charity, and they're helping us now to put together the films that will create the awareness of what bed poverty is all about, and hopefully get people to donate into the charity. So that's a biggie for me. And so we have an office, and we've got someone who works part-time on it. That's something we're developing all the time. Right. On top of that, I have a contract with Saga to do 6 cruises a year for them. And I'm doing one in January, which is a 7-week cruise, but I'm only doing the first 2 weeks for fly home, and then I rejoin them for the last 2 weeks, because what happens is people get stir crazy when they're on there, and there's loads of sea days. The first 10 days when you leave the UK, if you're going to the Caribbean, for example, the first 10 days, all you see is sea. So they need me on there to kind of lift people's spirits. The same thing with coming back. They got 10 days of just CCC, and they're now feeling depressed after having a good time. So I come on and we wow them. Right?
You've certainly got the character to do that, I've got to say. We're a couple of days away from Christmas now, and have you got a Christmas message for everybody?
Yeah, I you know what? My message to everybody is that every single day is your birthday and Christmas. Don't wait for it. Because I've had the misfortune of losing so many friends who had all the plans in the world about what they're going to do next Christmas, next birthday. Treat every single day you get up as Christmas and birthday. And when you open your eyes, if you're still standing on grass, you're alive, right? Yeah. And that is a wonderful feeling, right? So keep on doing what you're doing. Keep your chin up. Look in that mirror every day. Be proud of who you are. Anyone that matters in your life, send them a little message reminding them that you love them, right? You don't have to always do it in person if you can, but just get onto one of those little apps and just send them a message occasionally saying, you know what, you're fabulous. I think the world of you. Cuddle everybody that matters to you. Find a kindly word to say to people. You pass someone in the street, smile at them. They're miserable as hell, but your smile could make their day, right? And they probably think you're weird anyhow, smiling at them. But so what? And I believe that's what we should do. And remember, if we work hard, if we're considerate and kind, amazing things will happen in your life.
Yeah, very good message. You've given some fantastic messages on here, Derek. Really good.
Thank you.
One last question from me.
Okay.
Do those unitards chafe?
No, because if you wear the proper underwear, they will never, ever chafe.
Right, okay.
They've got a little bit that goes down the leg, the thigh, haven't they, Derek? So
well, Well, I hear you. But the thing is, right, if you wear them correctly, a lot of men, you see the runners, right, they're not supported. You must make sure you're well supported.
Right. Okay. Not a problem in your case, Martin, is it?
No, you need a magnifying glass and tweezers to find it. Hey!
Brilliant.
Well, you've been fantastic, Derek, and we won't keep you any longer because we know how busy you are. But thank you for coming on our very special Christmas edition of the show.
Thank you very much.
Good luck for the future.
Thank you. And I wish you all the very best. Yeah. Just remain positive and just stick with it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That was funny, wasn't it?
That was really good. I enjoyed that. And I mean, I had so many questions down here.
Yeah.
He kept us entertained with lots of other bits. So I think, it was nice to hear Derek's story and, or Mr Motivator, as some people know him as. But what a lovely guy. So.
Well, I suppose at the end of the day, Martin, we've got to wish everybody a happy Christmas now.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, everybody. And have a good Christmas, everyone.
Bye.
Happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
You've been listening to the Who's Tom and Dick podcast with your hosts, Martin Weavers and Patrick Mortimer. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite streaming platform. New episodes are available every Friday. Thanks for tuning in.